we will be making a seared pork tenderloin with peach chutney, farro with fennel and onions. So, farro, it's a very chewy, nutty kind of grain. This guy takes about 20 minutes to cook, so we are going to get this going. 1 cup. Chicken stock, about 2/3 of this right in your pot. This is a fresh bay leaf right in there. So we're just gonna make a little thyme bundle. We're gonna throw it right in our liquid. And so what happens is these little leaves will flutter off, and then you'll just be left with a little bundle of sticks that is for easy removal. And thank you for coming. Season it with salt. Then what we're gonna do, VTB, RTS, bring to boil, reduce to simmer. I'm gonna put a lid on this guy so that it will keep the chicken stock from reducing down to nothing. Does anyone know what this is? This is fennel. These things on the top are what are called fennel fronds. We're gonna cut these off because we are going to use them later. This piece of meat is a wildly tender piece of meat, but it doesn't have a lot of flavor. This is a great cut of meat to pair with other big flavors. So we're going to season this, get a nice even coating, cut this in half. My farro is boiling away. I am just gonna turn down my burner. All right, so I've seasoned my pork tenderloin. We're gonna start off with a really hot pan. All right, decent coating of olive oil. I am going to dust my pork tenderloin with fennel pollen, and it's just like the flowers of wild fennel. When I put my pork in my pan, I wanna hear, rambunctious applause. If you don't hear the rambunctious applause, wait. All right, I'm laying my other one in there, and I'm making sure there's room around. While that's happening, I am going to get my mise en place together for my peach chutney. I mean, already you look at that and you're like, oh yeah. My pan's starting to turn color here. So I'm gonna just turn my pan down a little bit. I'm just gonna kind of cut in nice big dices. Now we're gonna brown these guys on the sides. This pork tenderloin, think about it, it's got no bones, it's got very little fat, it's a lot of lean meat. It's a pretty fast cook. Peaches, ready. Let's take a look. Ready, this makes me happy. So we have this thermometer. All right, see what we've got? We're at basically 100 degrees, all right? So we have 40 more degrees to go. So I'm gonna start by putting this in the oven for about 10 minutes. Use your timer on this one, don't forget. Actually, let's start with 8 minutes. We'll see how 8 minutes go. So a lot of my liquid has cooked away. We'll put in about half a cup or so of water, but this is close to being done, another 5-ish minutes. Let's think about stuff for the base of our farro. Onion, we're gonna use our onion in 2 places. Okay, so I'm gonna dice my onion real quick. You know what, I'm gonna just turn that off for a while. Now, fennel, we cut it in half, cut it in quarters, and then cut the stalk. Even though fennel is a vegetable here, it's still sweet. Think about, all right, the pork is savory, our peaches are sweet, but we've got a lot of savory things like going back and forth for all these flavors to be like, team pork tenderloin. It's all on the same mission. See, aren't you glad for a timer? Because we were all like, oh, we would have left, that would have been in there for days. All right, so when my pork comes out of the oven, I want to let it rest. All right, I'm gonna do a garlic clove, so in half now. Done. My fennel fronds. So we just want the little, like, flowy parts. We don't want the stems. We're gonna chop them up, feeny, feeny, feeny. And that is that. My farro is done. Removal of the thyme bundle. Removal of the bay leaf. We're gonna put all the farro into a bowl. Now, into our farro pan, olive oil. We're gonna bring it to a medium heat, and I'm gonna throw in half my onions, all the fennel. We're gonna do a little bit of salt, and we're gonna sweat these. Now, my pork pan, that is all nice, like pork juice. So we're gonna ditch the oil there. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of new oil, and I'm gonna throw in the rest of my onions. Little pinch of crushed red pepper. As these onions start to cook, they're gonna start to help scrape off the porky deliciousness. My beans, about half a can. There's a bunch of liquid in the beans. We wanna make sure we drain that out. Those are gonna go right in there. I'm gonna add my garlic now. Oh, see, look at, I got all the crud scraped off there. So I'm adding my peaches into there now, and I'm adding my farro back into this whole situation. Chicken stock, add about a half a cup to your peaches. You want the peaches to cook down a little bit to get like a little bit of loosey-goosey. So I'm turning my farro off, and I'm gonna stir in a quarter of a cup of Parmesan cheese. To our peaches, 1 tablespoon of whole grain mustard, and let's give it a pinch of fennel pollen. Now I'm gonna taste this. I'm tasting this and I'm like, maybe these peaches weren't the sweetest peaches. I'm gonna add a little bit of maple syrup. Oh, that little bit of maple syrup just... The very last thing I'm gonna add to this, a little bit of balsamic vinegar. When you add acid to things, it takes the salt down a little bit. One more little pinch of salt. While you let pieces of meat rest, when you put stuff in the oven, what is actually cooking that meat is the moisture trying to get out. It's like, oh, let me escape. You pull them out of the oven, they don't know that the party has ended quite yet. So if I cut my pork tenderloin the second it gets out of the oven, all those juices would run out on my cutting board and they're lost forever. And what I'm left with is a really dry, sad piece of meat. Now, I'm gonna cut this on the bias, but keep your slices together. My fennel fronds, we're gonna stir those into our farro. I'm gonna plate this guy. And then I can fan it out like that. It's a little pink in there, it's nice and juicy. The very last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add our chutney. All right, throw an extra little green on the top, and there we go. All right, what do you guys think? You ready to try it?